Hello, 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 everyone, and hello. This is AHA, A Human Amongst Humans, the show of the four of us, who are people who are on the show. And speaking of whom, we have the mighty Michael Coran, leader of the pack, and we have
Oh,
myself, because I'm next on the tiles on my Zoom, John J.W. Oxenford. I'm co-host and happy to be so. With us, we have our two noble guests, Susan and Sarah. Please say hello.
Susan Allen,
Howdy.
Sarah Brett.
Hello.
Nice to be here.
Now, I have a topic, but I wondered if anyone else has a topic they'd like to talk about.
I'm working on a blog for work, and I cited you in this show in one paragraph, talking about trying to get out of the head and into the body, into the emotions. So I could talk about that for a certain amount of time, and we could have a conversation on that.
Great. Susan Allen, any topic?
Uh, so many, so little time, so many. Um, yes, I'd like to speak about creativity and the appearance of it in tough situations.
Wow. Sarah Brett?
Fear.
Oh, my.
It's funny. I am now seeing a therapist, which is good. I saw him 10 years ago and availability opened up and I said, why not? He's just a deep thinker, someone that I can run some ideas with. And basically, he will say things like fear is not about the decision, but about handling the consequences. Things like that. So it does make you it's he's kind of training me to look at fear in a new way where I can take more risks and just say, it's not about if I have confidence that I can handle the consequences, it really doesn't matter what choice I make.
Wow. Well, we'll do it in order.
I mean, but tell me
One,
about your topic.
mine was about ice.
I want to do that one.
Okay. Um, all right. I'd like to do yours. Well, I want to do John's first, Susan second, Sarah's third, and mine last. And you'll edit this, Sarah.
Yes.
We'll begin the show when you come on.
What about ice?
Okay.
About
Um,
ice sort of.
my friend sent me what to do
Mm-hmm.
if you see someone on a train or a bus or other places where ICE officials are trying to
Oh.
discover,
Oh,
Are
I
what
see.
ICE officials or what? I'm sorry, I didn't
trying
hear
to
you.
discover if someone is illegal here in the United States and is to be deported. And they have quoted each day to do this. I think it's over 1,000 a day. And my friend says, the first thing, Border Patrol can verify citizenship within 100 miles of a border. This includes coastlines. So New York City, Philly, and all of Jersey are within 100 miles. So they're allowed to do that in Boston too. What to do if we see them? Border Patrol can only ask brief questions about citizenship, and they cannot hold you for an extended time without cause.
Without what?
Pause. Without cause. Is that clear?
Without cause.
Yep. You always have the right to remain silent. You do not need to answer any questions. Wow. So we as white people can say that. If we're brave, I'm not sure. Sarah's topic of fear. I think I'm scared. Scared. I was even scared to bring this up on the television show. But Sarah wanted it. We'll see if Sarah posts it.
So let me understand this correctly. If we see someone who has an ICE uniform in public and they have someone that they're taking in custody, which I doubt that they would do that. They probably would have a car or a van, but I don't know that to be the case. Then we could intervene. Is that correct?
We can say things. We shouldn't do things, but we can say to any immigrant, you can remain
who they're taking into custody.
Yeah, you can say you can remain silent. You don't have to answer any questions.
Mm-hmm. Well, that would be probably that I would have to learn a little spiel in Spanish, and I could do that, and I would do that.
Oh, wow, you're brave. You can say it in English. If they speak English, they probably do.
Maybe, maybe not.
Let everyone know they have a right to remain silent or only answer questions in the presence of an attorney.
The Miranda rights.
Yep.
So under the suspicion of lack of citizenship and in ICE custody, they still have the law of the Miranda rights.
Yes, that's what this email said.
Well, I'd like to check that out before I enter into that territory, because that is highly karmic. In other words, that's highly cause and effect. You know, you're jumping into something. Yeah.
So I would like to check it. You people seem brave. Do you even want to talk about this on television?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope, because I'm a scaredy cat, I would like to think that I would find the courage to say this if I'm in a situation, to tell the person that's accused of being an illegal alien, you do not have to speak. You can remain silent and insist you'll only talk in the presence of an attorney. How do I handle the fear, Sarah?
you're not afraid of the decision that you're making, and you have full confidence you can handle the consequences.
Wow.
No matter what comes back at you, you've kind of sat in maybe a grounded meditation, and it's like no matter what backlash, whatever, you're firm in your convictions and you're standing your ground.
Wow. I think that'll help me have the courage and maybe invite listeners to have the courage. And I think I want to check, as Susan Allen said.
You want to
Okay,
check? Yes.
Next topic. John Oxenford
Mhm.
and the body.
Oh, we're going to my topic now?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was making a blog for work, and it was all about sort of activating emotions within the body, not in some sort of kind of eruption, but more of a more consistent kind of coexistence. Um, and something I have um, or don't have is a sort of consistent. I'm very relaxed. I feel very relaxed all the time, and I might be afraid, I might be angry, I might be happy, I might be overjoyed, but there's always just sort of this kind of calmness. And my emotions usually come in through in that word overjoyed, when I get a real tangible emotion that I can feel, it's sort of a very grand thing. And I've heard people talk about emotions as though it were something that were just kind of very constant with them. And so I was thinking maybe as I started you in the show in the end the show, Michael. I think rather often about how you say you had to get out of your mind and into your heart, into your body. So I'm trying to kind of use breathing and meditation. I just finished this book called "Freeing Your Natural Voice" by Kristen Linklater, and it's all about finding those emotions, connecting your voice to images, connecting parts of your body to images, and then being able to uh, clear out the restraint of your emotions that might be caught up somewhere in your body from you being able to express them. And this would be mainly on stage. But I think it's good for life as well, just regular life as well. And so yeah, I just I'd like to hear a bit from Michael about his transition from head to heart.
Well, first, I want to go to the expert, Susan Allen. Thank you.
Expert in what?
Going from head to heart.
Oh, well, I suppose you could do it in an instant, but as with everything, I'd have to give you my own experience.
Yes.
So I have long wanted to function from my heart more than my head. I live in a world, we live in a world that is more head than heart, usually. So I would gravitate towards meditation groups. I would gravitate towards, and that is a great book that you read,
Oh, cool.
the Linklater book. I love that book. So how does one practice that? Because we are trained the minute we walk out the door to get into our head. to do things, in a structure of a world that is mental. It's all constructed on a mental basis, and not necessarily intuitive. How does one practice? Well, there are different ways of doing that. I remember, like you, John, you naturally gravitated toward your voice. And so did Michael and I. Michael has been studying voice and the ease of it for a long time because he had this desire. He kept on saying, and I'm going to go down this road. Excuse me. I'm going to include Michael, and I'm going to go down this road. And Michael would say, gee, I don't feel like I'm sincere enough in my delivery of my poems. And so am I correct in saying that, Michael, wherever you are? We lost you in the woods.
Oh, here I am.
We lost you. And so the greatest thing somebody can do is actually speak from their heart. I think when I say the greatest thing, I think the most sincere and the most import that a person has in communication is to speak from their whole being, their whole heart. And for me, that was the case. But I didn't know where to start. I was like everybody else, And so I promptly went off to teachers, lots of teachers that cost lots of money, because I thought that my voice was not genuine enough. And so there I was learning how to sing opera. So back to the present moment here, because it took me a while to unconvince myself that what I thought and what I was receiving from the opera classical world was that my voice was not the way that it should be in order to be in that world. And I think that that's a common error. I think it's a common, what do I want to say? I don't want to use the word mistake, but it's a common misconception that what we have now, presently, right now, is real. It's very, very real. It may not be what we think it should be, but it is what we have right now. And what comes in the way of that also starts to read with Michael. I wonder where Sarah is. I miss her.
I'm right here.
Oh,
Do you see me?
no, honey, we don't.
Okay.
Sorry to call you honey.
No, honey is such a nice word.
It's an endearment from Oklahoma. I lived in Oklahoma a long time.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Anyway, that's another story. And so going back to facing a situation with creativity and facing a situation such as a crisis where Michael has presented here. That was a great answer, Sarah. It was a terrific answer.
Yeah, we missed the video. Is it on?
Yes, now it is.
Oh, good.
Oh, good.
So we know that where there is love, there is no fear. Right? Do we all know that?
No, I don't know that, no.
Okay. So where there is love, there is no room for fear. The two cannot coexist. So what does that mean? You know, what does that mean? That means that you make a choice all the time. At least that was my experience, because I wanted love to be in me, through me, with me all the time. I wanted to be as sincere as I could possibly be, always. And I was not coming from that place. And I had deep inward doubts, you know, from my first communion with the priest who told me to go out and get some sins. In my first first confession, when I went to him, I said I don't have any sins, even though I went to Catholic school for the first communion and I went in to give my confession. I just told him that I'm sorry, I can't find any sins. And he leaned down and he told me, well, go out and get some. And he slammed the screen. You know,
Wow.
he slammed the screen shut on an 8-year-old, or maybe I was 9, I think, on a 9-year-old, and that set up a schism. You know, it set up a doubt within my heart. My heart said, I don't have any sins. And he said that he's an older guy and he represents the church. And my mother says that these priests are really strong and we need to pay attention to them. And this older guy comes in and he leans down right into my face practically and tells me to go out and find some sins. So there I was. And that, at the age of 9 years old, set up a cellular, huge, as we know, we talk about this all the time on this show. It set up this kind of inner scenario within my system, within my cellular makeup, to doubt everything that I thought about my feelings. I would feel something and I'd go, oh no, I can't trust my feelings now because of that. That was one of many incidences when I was small. And I bet we can all go back to that, maybe, and understand those first traumas.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
John,
But that was a blessing.
yeah.
It set up the scenario so that I could find myself, me, my whole being, and embed myself. I call it embed my being with, infuse my being with love. And so how would I do that? You know, where I could stand up to an ICE agent taking in somebody and just walk up and interfere with that situation if I so felt that it was necessary. Now that's
You
the
don't
other
have
thing.
to do anything, but just to say it, maybe record it on your phone if we're brave, and just say you have a right to remain silent until you have a lawyer present. You don't have to answer any question at all.
It takes a lot to do that, Michael, though.
Yes, I maybe, I'm afraid to say this, maybe talking this over with you will give me courage or at least embarrassment not to do it.
Huh.
John, Sarah, what do you think of what Susan said?
I think that's amazing that you had such a commitment to finding yourself like that. And I feel like someone who gets taken away and put in a cell would have some serious traumas, you know. Why aren't are these people given the means to become citizens? Do they attempt to stay and then leave at some point? Why?
Let,
Fine.
let me paint the scenario for you, John. Okay, let me paint the scenario. You get here any way that you can. You begin to live here. You have nothing. Maybe you have your family in another city, but you literally may have no money. You may have no connections. So you do anything that you can to make any kind of money, any kind of connection. And this is the truth. When people come here and they do not have family or they do not know where to reach out. So
Where are they coming from?
Well, and I'm just painting a scenario for you. We're talking about people who are at the end of their ropes and they have no food or anything like that.
So why aren't there systems set up to support them when they come and ask for help?
They don't know where to ask for help. They wouldn't even know
They should
where.
find something.
They
There
can't even
should be
speak
systems set up
English.
that tell them these are the people you can talk to.
These people are running away from a fate that would kill them. These
What is that?
people, and I'm not talking about the thugs that come over here. There are people that are not well intentioned, but many of these people are running for their lives, and they come over here and they literally have no resources, none at all. And
Yeah.
so what happens is they end up finding their way. Somehow, some way, they end up finding their way, maybe with a nasty person who treats them lower than dirt, and they at least, and they pay them nothing. They find their way, and that person uses them, and they need that money in order to subsist. So then, slowly but surely, they might find another person who is maybe a little kinder by a speck of God's grace, you know. And so they end up doing and being, they might do something during a day and never get paid for it. You see, this is the way that kind of life goes. So anyway,
So
finally they get
why aren't there systems set up to help these people not have to go through that life when they get here? What is the barrier between these people having their terrible life and then being able to have support so they can live a good life in America?
because that's not the way it works, John.
Well,
I
they're
mean, yeah,
all
exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying there are, and no, I'm just saying why aren't there? You know, why is there this sort of
You mean,
weird
why don't we have
reality?
the government, you know, why doesn't the government make provisions for these
there
people
are ways
Yeah.
to
And
as
be.
they cross?
why aren't those resources available to these people? You know, we're letting people come in here and just be treated like dirt. We should treat them like regular people. They should find easy ways to get their own citizenship and start living here. You know, that's great. You know, Why
So
are
so
they,
the amount of power and bigotry of me white, you not. The amount of bigotry is huge in this country. And the power when someone puts somebody down to make themselves feel more powerful is huge. It's a huge factor in what you're talking about. We are not, these people eh, 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 are, they're coming here without support, without, they're taking their lives in their hands in order to come here. But it's not seen like that. It's
I
not
want,
presented like that.
I'm
I want
surrounded
to
by.
say, Susan, but the United States cannot just let anybody in. There are legal ways.
I'm surrounded by a lot of angry people. I live near Mass and Cass, and there was this group on Zoom on Tuesday nights, and it was again like just a communication group. And a year ago, people would be saying, I'm bipolar, I've been in and out of residences, and next door, this hotel is housing all these immigrants, and I'm really angry. And then I have another couple neighbors that are from Venezuela, and they say, I came over here, I got a job within a month. I don't want the rest of my country coming over here. There's a lot of crooked people. So I actually get that on one side of my ear. So it's poor people in my neighborhood across the board. I've heard from several, they're very upset that their needs have not been met and housing
It's
is gone.
complicated, isn't it?
So that's the thing. I think but from what I understand, there's a hotel down the street from me, and they've been housing immigrants. And one of my friends housed immigrants for a few months. So it is complicated though, because I've never seen the homelessness to this level in Boston. I bike places, but then if I need to take public transportation, I am floored just going to South Station. And the number of people sleeping outside, the number of people sleep, the amount of urine I smell going down to catch the train. I have just never seen this level of homelessness before.
You know what I saw today? Down over by the Micro Center near Trader
Oh,
Joe's, where you live on Chestnut Street. There were a whole bunch of people camped out at the Micro Center.
oh,
I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. They had their chairs, they were sitting in their chairs. They had a little tent there, but they were all standing there, sitting there, you know, homeless. And it was at the corner of the Micro Center where they have a white picket fence. And so they were all behind that white picket fence and around the corner. So there were probably about 20 to 30 of them, and they were homeless.
mm,
So it's come to roost. So you're right, Michael. You're right. But it doesn't make the reality of it any different. You know, they've come, they're here. It doesn't make the reality that the people shouldn't do this and we shouldn't do that. It's it's pointless to do that because they're here, you know, and the stopping the flow is, just one of the many solutions that we are going to have to face. We still have 1,500 children that have not found their parents. They were put in cages and separated from their parents on the last Trump administration. They have not found their parents yet.
Yeah, I heard that too. I heard there were people coming over from the south border and that they were getting separated, locked in cages, and just delayed. Their situation was delayed for months and months and months.
I also did hear parents intentionally leaving their kids. There's a lot of that too. Because the
What are you going
parents
to do when you're
want the
desperate?
child to have a better life and they're like, I don't want to change mine. I want my kid to have a better. There's a lot of that. There's no easy solution to any of this.
But there's also people from China who have learned that if they come over the border, they come over the border and ask for asylum. So they pay the person to get over the border, and they're Chinese, and they have their suitcases and they have their satchels, their backpacks, and they're all set. And they come from China and they go to the person who's going to take them over the border. So once they get here, they can ask for asylum. So they've in a sense they beat the system. They know the system, and now they're going to beat the system because they can honestly say that if they go back to China, they will be risked to be incarcerated or killed or something like that. So they'll ask for science. So,
So what's going on in China now? Is something bad going on in China that I don't know about?
oh dear.
John,
Is there something going on?
talk
No,
a
so
little louder.
what do we do to talk to those countries where apparent atrocities are happening? How can we be diplomatic and political and talk to those people and say, how are you going to figure this out? Let us help you figure out your government so you're not hurting these people so that they aren't going over here and causing some sort of, population problem or
but
whatever.
they don't, John, they don't function the same way that we do. And we're not going to function the same way we did before, not with this new administration. We're not going to function at all the way we did before. That's what's happening. We're not the laws that are now in place to throw people out, to deport people right out of the gate of the new president. We're not doing that anymore. Don't even think that people can come in here and find a home or whatever, find solace. This is not a place to find comfort anymore. This is a place that if you make it here, you're lucky that you don't get deported and you don't get stopped because they're out in force here. So in China and other countries, especially in China, the citizens are spied upon. They're spied upon by cameras. They're spied upon. They don't have the same rights that we have at all. They're putting cameras in every single area in the housing, in everything, to spy on people. And if they talk against the government, then they get sent away to a special, what they call a special cleansing camp. So they brainwash them. Yeah. And they really do brainwash them. Or they die somewhere along the way.
Hard subject. Thank you all. Let's move on
Good.
to Sarah and fear, which might be connected.
I do just want to say one thing. I know a number of people I grew up with a whole bunch of people with green cards from so many countries, and I talked to them about it. People from China, my friend's neighbor, people from Venezuela, and they say Mexico, they came over for school or work. They came over, they entered a lottery, they waited, they came over legally from the lottery, they came over for school, and they say there's ways to come over here legally. Canada has always been very strict about people need to come over here for a service. So I don't know. According to them, doing it legally is not that difficult. That is what they've told me. So I don't know, but I just think why
Yeah.
not try to do it legally
Yeah.
through the lottery system, through education coming over here. My neighbors in the city, they're like, majority of them are first generation from Mexico, Venezuela, China, India, you name it. And they're actually, honestly, it's they some of them have said, you know what, this immigration, like I worked hard to come over here and do it the right way. They're mad. So no, they're like, send these people back. They're like, don't tell anyone I said this, but so they're not on the side of the side of my friends who are second generation. Majority of them are very compassionate about the situation. So you know what? It's good to get different perspectives. I don't know how difficult it is. Personally, they have said they did it. It wasn't that difficult, but you have to be patient and put the work in and fill out the applications.
Well, I just think the situation should be easy. You know, you come here, you do some paperwork, you talk to a representative who works in where the building they work to get their citizenship, and then you do your research before you come here. You say, okay, these are the steps I need to take. I become a citizen. I'm all set. I start a job. I pay my taxes. All good. You know, it shouldn't be something that's impossible so that somebody who needs asylum from some terrible torture comes here and has no idea what to do and then has a worse life than where they were coming from or just as bad or something like that. It should be logical steps that people know and people are educated about to be able to come here and live a good life.
Wow. I love what Susan's compassion, but Sarah's experience, John's logic. Now let's move to maybe Sarah's fear.
It's so funny, Michael, when you said ice, I thought you literally meant ice and slipping on ice, which
Oh,
which is a fear because you know what? Like, okay, your decision is, well, I need to get to work, so I need to cross this ice. But can you live with the consequences if you fall? It's rough out there. It's so easy to it's crazy. I had a neighbor that moved to Maine, and there's something called, I think, hammer ice. It's you can't see it. It's super thick ice, and it just sounded awful. Like she broke her elbow into multiple pieces, and I'm like,
Oh
you know
no.
what? I'm not moving north of this area. It's dangerous, and I get people want to retire in the country, but ice is scary on in multiple definitions of ice. So, but in terms of fears, I went from being younger and not setting boundaries. Let's just try this out. I don't know, to, getting burnt, getting really disappointed, to setting really strong boundaries. But I realized I I became very rigid. So and I think it's for example, I have a situation at work with a woman with a personality disorder, and everyone knows that this woman is a problem, and she is looking to write people up. She's writing patients up, and her needs are to be respected at all times. But when you have a personality disorder, it's she's gonna read into things, she's gonna think someone offended her. And it is walking on eggshells, and there's no leadership at work because she wrote to HR. HR, the company's gotten too big. Like a lot of things today, the corporations get too big. HR is now outsourced and they're out of the Midwest. So anytime you write to HR, it permanently goes into the person's record that wronged this person, when in fact, the way things were done, I should actually have a face to face discussion with a supervisor or someone in charge. Oh, there's a misunderstanding. So I have seen the um, the political environment from a small hospital to a merged situation become really toxic just based on the policies needing to be upgraded for a bigger corporation, because it's just everyone is thinking, oh, I might say the wrong thing. I'm, 60 years old, this person's 30, and I called this employee a she, but the person was transitioning, and this person actually wrote someone up for using the wrong pronoun. So it's like there's no ill intention, but I think I think about fears and not being supported and not having a good leadership where I work right now. And I need a paycheck, I need to go to work, but can I handle the consequences if I say the wrong thing and this person writes me up? I guess is the thing. Like, you can be kind of stuck in a situation where you don't have the leadership. How do you empower yourself? So it's a little tricky. And I think it's tricky in that, you have to be grounded, know yourself, know your values.
And no one else is writing her. Why don't you talk to other people who feel the same as you do, and maybe you all could go to HR or whatever
I
and just say
know.
something about it, because
Yeah.
it sounds like this person is not healthy
This
for the
person is
place.
not healthy, but you're right. The fear is, I guess, how do you empower yourself? Because it's like, the choice that you need to make. The fear isn't the choice. The fear is, oh no, is this person going to retaliate? Am I going to get anywhere with HR isn't, so I guess I'm just giving that example of fear. I think fear holds us back, but I don't think it's the choices. This person was explained to me, it's not necessarily the choices. You could do A or you could do B, but what if B becomes toxic down the road? You know what? Just realize, choose A or B. That's not the fear.